Hello, beautiful ones. I want to welcome you to season 1, episode 11 of Moving Mountains podcast. Once again, I'm Trishina Bazar Hunter. I am a certified transformational life coach with a master's degree in psychology. And I am here today with my good friend, my sister, Zakeisha, to talk to you about a topic that I promised you was coming last week, which is sexuality. Today, we're going to talk about sexuality in a little bit of a different light, a bit of a different perspective. As you're probably aware, it's October, it's Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And today, we're going to be talking about some of the insecurities that happen with our sexuality and our womanhood, but more specifically about the insecurities that we go through after we have been through a breast reconstruction surgery. My good friend and my sister Zakeisha has been through breast cancer. She's a survivor. She's one of the strongest women that I know. And I went through a breast reconstruction surgeries last year, and it was very traumatic. And I really couldn't have gotten through it had it not been for my sister here. So Zakeisha, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. You just made me feel like a superstar. But as Trishina mentioned, my name is Zakeisha, and I am a 4-year breast cancer survivor.
Now, I brought you on the show today because when I was researching and talking to people about what they wanted to hear when it came to sexuality, the topic that overwhelmingly came up was insecurities. Last year, I went through 3 breast reconstruction surgeries. And the first one wasn't really that bad. You know, you get the expanders and you've got this idea of how things are going to go. But the second surgery, when I finally came to, I woke up and I had no breast at all and was covered literally in cuts and scrapes and bleeding. It seemed like it was from my shoulders to my hips. And it was something very traumatizing. In fact, like that image was the only thing that I could see for 2 to 3 months.
Yeah.
And it was traumatizing. So I didn't have breast cancer, but I know that you went through a pretty extensive breast reconstruction yourself due to breast cancer. It's actually, is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. Back in 2016, I was diagnosed with stage 2 breast cancer. It was actually February 29th, 2016. So it was actually a leap year. And believe it or not, I was actually 5 months pregnant when I was diagnosed.
And tell me a little bit more about that. How old is that child now?
My baby girl is 4 years old now. Her name is Zaya. And the meaning behind that is light. She was, definitely my light during that, that traumatic time. And she's great. She just continues to remain to be that light in our life. And it's just such a blessing to be here. And also to have my daughter here who went through chemo, a couple of surgeries with me. She was in the womb while I had some procedures done and chemotherapy. So it's just a blessing to have such a miracle child here.
I have been fortunate to meet Zaya, and she really is light. She's this bright beam of light, no matter where she goes. Such a smart, witty, sweet young lady. And if I understand, this was your first daughter as well. So,
Yes.
Tell me if, as much as you're comfortable, what the process was like going through the cancer treatment and then, what it was like going through your breast reconstruction.
Well, I mean, I don't even know where to start. Honestly, I was probably just really, really numb. Um, I mean, my feelings, they were everywhere, honestly. Just to think of just sitting here thinking about it, it's just bringing back so many memories. But let me say, I am very blessed and thankful that I'm still here. So just to give you a little back history, I found out I was pregnant, November 2015. I was already 2 or 3 months along before I found out. Um, a couple months later, I found out I was having a girl. And then, February 2016, I was diagnosed with the breast cancer. So everything just happened so fast. I really didn't have time to process, much of the information, honestly. And to make matters worse, 2 weeks later, I started, my chemotherapy, my first chemotherapy treatment. I had reached out to my best friend, at this time, and she was actually going through, breast cancer treatments as well, and she was a stage 4. Um, well, when I reached out to her and told her how my first chemo went, we talked for a little bit, and she told me she loved me. And that next day, I got a call from her son, and he told me that, his mom had passed away. And so here I am, you know, 5 months pregnant with cancer, just lost my best friend due to the very disease that is threatening my life. And so, that's why I said I was just really numb. Um, I of course I had no choice but to continue on with life and continue my fight with cancer. And so, one thing I can say is, during my chemo treatments, I really didn't have any sickness, actually. I know a lot of women, they have very bad side effects from chemotherapy where, they're really fatigued, or it causes individuals to vomit a lot and, feel nauseous and, things like that. And I can honestly say that I didn't have those side effects. And I really think that that was because I was pregnant. And I just really felt like she protected me during that time. Um, so chemo, I wouldn't say it was a breeze, because it really was not a breeze, but I just didn't have the major side effects as other individuals, face with chemo. Um, I did chemo for 6 months straight, and then I moved to the breast reconstruction. And this was in, I believe, August or September of 2016. I think that that um, was when I really realized, like, oh my gosh, this is real. I really do have cancer. I am getting ready to have my breast, which has been a part of me for 29 years. I'm getting ready to have these things removed. And that was very traumatic for me, because honestly, as a woman, I just felt like I was losing a part of, how do you say the word, femininity. And that was a really big deal for me at that point. So uh, everything went well with the surgery, but I woke up, and luckily they removed my breast, all the tissues, everything. And I was given breast expanders immediately after my breasts were removed. So I think that was a really, I'm glad I made that decision, because I don't know if I would have been able to, see myself without, any breast at all. So, um, but then again, it's just like, it's still so hard to really put in words, but I can say that it was honestly a very, very traumatic experience, to have these moving forward, you'll have these fake breasts, you'll have these fake implants. And, not only that, you're losing your sensation. You have no feeling in that area any longer. And so it was a very, very tough time in my life, you know, with that experience.
I'm listening back to the things that you said, and granted, I've known you now for going on 14 years, give or take.
Yeah.
And, hearing you say that you got through the chemo because you were literally carrying light in your womb
Yes.
is huge. And I know your story. We've talked about it. We've been friends for some time, but hearing you say it right now still, kind of, it brings tears to my eyes, because I remember when you lost your friend and what you were going through. And, my story, I didn't have breast cancer. I had an infection
Mm-hmm.
that caused me to completely lose my left breast and destroyed all the tissue on my right. And like yourself, I had the expanders, but because I had had so many infections and had gone into septic shock, I was not really a candidate for implants. So I had to go through a process that's called fat grafting. And so after they took the expanders out, when I look back, and I can still see it very vividly now, I felt like I had stepped out of a horror movie,
Mm-hmm.
because I had cuts, all over my breast tissue, around my nipples, my stomach, my hips. And I was literally, as I came home from the hospital, bleeding from, it felt like, everywhere. And I was sent home from the hospital without really having an understanding of what I was going through or what I was going to expect. And I was home here with my oldest daughter when it came to. And I woke up and I didn't have breasts and I barely had nipples, and I was covered in blood and cuts, and it was horrifying. It was literally like waking up in a horror movie.
Yeah.
And for months after, as I went through the fat grafting procedure, which takes 3 surgeries to go through because you have to do it gradually, my doctor could see the difference in my breast. My daughter could see the difference in my breast. I couldn't. So no matter what changes occurred, no matter what healing occurred, when I looked in the mirror, and even sometimes today, all I see is those cuts, that lack of having breast tissue, that looking like a horror movie. And
Mm-hmm.
it's hard. Like, for me, it's just been a year. And sometimes even now, it's hard to look at myself in the shower or in the mirror, and, when I'm getting dressed, because I can still see what I saw when I woke up that day. And when I don't see that, I see nothing but the scars that are there,
Yeah.
which are just hideous to me. And I'm listening to you talk, and your situation's been about 5 years now. When you look now, is it the same as what you were feeling before? How is it 5 years later?
You know what? Honestly, it is still the same. It's just like the first day, the first day I lost my breast. It feels the exact same. And um to sort of piggyback off of what you were saying, even still, when I look in the mirror, all I see is, fake breast. Um it's just still, sometimes it's just unreal. But I can say that honestly, I am still in the process of accepting this new reality for me, even though, it's been since 2016. I'm still in the process of accepting this reality. Um, you know, um, I'll just give you an example. Even when I, go out with my girlfriends, or, we go out for cocktails, happy hour, what have you. Um, a lot of times I, do get dressed up and looking kind of cute, if I should say so myself. But anyway, sometimes just depending on what I have on, maybe a dress or things like that, my breast boobs are, they're perky. And so a lot of people notice that. And, I do get a lot of compliments, and, you know, I was speaking to one of my girlfriends, and she was like, man, only if I could get fake boobs. And she said something to the fact of, um, at least you didn't have to pay for those. And, I really took that offensive because people think that, she got these boobs done for free. I wish I could do that, but they don't understand what came with that. I had cancer, and so that's the reason why I had this reconstruction. It was not something that I wanted. It was something that was, you know, in my life that was supposed to happen. So it's not something that, I planned to happen. This is something that, God had planned for me. And so sometimes, it is a little hurtful because people don't understand that, um, that, these boobs were because of my cancer diagnosis and not because someone just wanted to have a breast enhancement done, if that makes sense.
No, I it makes perfect sense because in both of our cases, even though the reasoning wasn't the same, it wasn't elective surgery. You had breast cancer, so you had to do this. In my situation, I had an infection that was killing me
Mm-hmm.
in both of my breasts, um, literally killing me. I was in and out of the hospital. I was 9 days in ICU. Um, right before I had septic shock, I was going into a coma here in my home. And I just thought that I had gotten a flu bug.
Wow.
And kind of like what you said, and I admit I'm getting a little choked up over here. Um, People would say things to me like, you just need to be glad you're alive.
Mm.
You can't focus on what you lost or what's different. And, why aren't you happy? You've got these brand new breasts. And for me, I had to go through 3 surgeries and I had to go through a tummy
Yeah.
tuck to recreate my breast because I couldn't do implants.
Right.
And I hear things like, well, shoot, I mean, you got, like you said, well, you got that for free. You got a mommy makeover for free. You should be glad.
Mm-hmm.
You should be celebrating. And, like you said, they're perky, I'm supposed to love them. They're supposed to be these great, beautiful new breasts that I'm supposed to be so proud of.
Right.
But it's like they were paid for in blood.
It's a very good way to put it. Absolutely.
And when they're paid for in blood, kind of like blood money, I'm not proud of that.
Mm-hmm.
It's still hard when I get in the shower because every scar that I have reminds me
Yeah.
of the hell that I went through. And mine's only a year out and I can still see it all like yesterday. And I'm talking to you and it's 5 years out and it still feels like yesterday. And we're surrounded by what seems like, and I don't want to use the word shallow, but it seems that way, right?
Absolutely.
You just need to be grateful for what you've got. Be grateful for your beautiful daughter. Be grateful for your kids. Why are you complaining? You got new breasts. You got a mommy makeover. How dare you complain? You got it for
Mm-hmm.
free. But money couldn't take this away.
Absolutely.
I couldn't think of an amount of money that can take away the price that I had to pay mentally, emotionally, psychologically going through that. And I imagine that's the same for you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Still to this day, there's really no words to describe. Honestly, sometimes I just can't put in words, how it still affects my life, to this day, even being, you know, years out.
And it's funny because you said a few moments ago that you get dressed up, you go out and this, that, and the other, and you get all these compliments. And for me, I literally didn't leave the house for 8 weeks. I was ashamed. I didn't want to be seen. And like even now, when I get dressed, I'm very self-conscious. I'm self-conscious about what somebody thinks I should be proud of and flaunt.
Yeah,
Um, because it's like war wounds.
absolutely.
Um, Intimately, I don't like them to be seen. Turn the lights
Mhm.
off. Don't look at this. This is ugly. None of this is pretty.
Right.
And it makes it really hard. You want to like yourself, you want to love yourself the way you're supposed to, right?
Yeah.
And then every day you have these
Yep.
reminders, whether they're implants, or scars, the reminders, they don't go away. And I mean, I have to hope for both of our sakes that they get easier with time. But as of right now, about 14 months out for me, 5 years for you, it doesn't seem like that's the case. It hurts like hell.
Absolutely. I will say it, it, I mean, it doesn't get easier. You just really learn to accept it and deal with it, and just look at it honestly in a different perspective. Um, it is a blessing that we are both still here, um, here to be able to still care for our small children. These kids depend on us. You know what I mean? So even though we have the constant reminders, when we look in the mirror and we see these breast implants or what have you, and it's just something that we have to learn to, I guess, to grow to love. Um, but what I've learned is that um, just to be grateful also because I'm still here with my kids. I have a 16-year-old, an 11-year-old, and a 4-year-old. And I just honestly, I feed off their energy. They really, really keep me going. Days when I thought that I just wanted to give up this fight. I I couldn't. I had to remember that if something happens to me, who's going to be able to take care of my children and provide for them the way that I would? No one, you know. And so we always have to remember the picture is bigger than ourselves. We have children that depend on us. And so that's what I always, always try to remind myself of.
I have to say, I know you as a mother and as a friend, and you do that so
Well,
well.
thank you. Thank you.
You spend so much time with your children, and they're such amazing kids. And one thing you said there is like sometimes you just want to give up. I mean, for me, there are some times where I'm like, if I don't wake up tomorrow,
Mm-hmm.
it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that bad. But my girls were 17 and 10, and they've seen
Right.
so much. They've seen mom go through so much. And even though I look at myself differently, my kids look at me and they see perfection that I
Yeah.
don't see.
You're their superhero. You know, they really look up to you. They adore you. You're their everything. And so we just have to remember that. We have to. All insecurities aside, um, I know for a fact that your children are the ones that keep you going as well. But that doesn't, like I said, change the fact that, the insecurities are there and it's hard to deal with on a daily basis.
We put on a brave front. We rate we're raising amazing children because I've met your kids and they're incredible, and I think my girls are pretty awesome
Absolutely.
as
They
well.
are wonderful.
And sometimes that brave front can be kind of exhausting. But sometimes because of how I shared my stories and I've tried to inspire others, I get pressured by inspiring the people outside of my home. But today you gave me a huge reminder that none of that matters outside of here, because the people I'm supposed to be inspiring and being there for are in my home.
Absolutely.
My responsibility is to them. um I want to touch on this because it's what the podcast was kind of
Uh-huh.
scripted to be about, but we've talked about some really important things. For you, having gone through it, what has intimacy been like?
What intimacy? I'm just kidding.
What intimacy? What intimacy? But that, it's funny, and I'm gonna laugh with you because like you're like, I don't even want to look at this.
It's really different. Is oh my gosh, it's so different. Like, how do I explain it? Um, it's like being intimate with limitations. And it's not for everyone. I don't know. It's limitations on it now, and something I'm learning to deal with. And I'm honestly looking to find more ways or different ways to be intimate. And so I don't know. It's just really limited, honestly.
Intimacy with
Mhm.
limitations after breast reconstruction. I mean, I don't think you can say it any
Yeah,
better than that. Um, it's funny because we still have to go for checkups, right? We're still women. We still have to take care of our bodies and our feminine, checkups and
right.
things like that. Um, but for me, I look at my breast now and I'm like, dude, I don't know you.
Yes,
Whatever was wrong with the breasts that were here before, they were here for 40 years. I knew them.
right.
I don't know you.
It's the best way to put it.
I don't know your temperament. I don't know why you're acting like this. I don't know why you hurt. You know what
Yeah,
I mean? I don't know why you got an attitude right now. I don't know you.
absolutely. That is so true.
There's these strangers with me in the shower, and I'm like, what
Hmm.
the hell do you want?
That is the best way to put it, Trish. The best way.
And then intimately, it's like, okay, well, I mean, how the hell I'm gonna introduce you to them, and I don't know them, man.
Oh my gosh. Absolutely. So it's something different.
I look at them, I'm trying to get to know you, but all I
Yeah,
see is dang, stabbing victim. Okay.
absolutely. So limitation.
But yeah, intimacy with limitations. And even if it's not physical limitations, there's emotional and
Yeah,
mental
yeah,
limitations.
absolutely.
This has been a great call. And Zakeisha, I have to say that you are one of my heroes. Everybody always called me Wonder Woman, but people didn't know that I was calling you like, what the hell am I supposed to do with this
And if I can let you know,
in the middle of
you
the night?
you definitely are my superhero, honestly. You know how I feel about you. And I just thank God that, we are both here to still be able to support one another, because, it is a journey. It's definitely not a walk in the park. It's a marathon that we have here. And I just thank you for being my support system, through it all. Excuse me. And so I really wanted to let you know that um, I admire your strength. I admire everything about you, and just thank you so much for always supporting me.
Well, you are welcome because you have definitely done the same thing for me. We've both been through a lot of stuff, a whole lot. And it was during the same
Right.
time frame, oddly enough. And, nobody will ever know how many calls we had in the middle of the night just to
Uh-huh.
get through the night.
Absolutely.
But if you had to leave one piece of information about intimacies, insecurities, about your body or sexuality, for women out there, whether it's because of breast cancer or anything, what would you leave? What would you tell somebody?
Hmm. That's a really good question. I would honestly say um, that we know our body. So if something doesn't seem right to you, you know, speak with the professional, get in, get it checked out, because we're not immune to anything. Anything can happen to any one of us. Whoever would have thought that at 29 I would be pregnant with cancer? And so it is October's Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Ladies, please make sure you get in and get checked. Um, this stuff is really real. Listen to your body, know your body, and just make sure that you're taking good care of yourselves.
I think that's perfectly stated. And I'm going to add to that because, especially as Black women, we don't always listen to our bodies because we're kind of taught that we're supposed to just keep pushing forward. Don't be a
Mm-hmm.
punk. Don't cry about it. And while my situation wasn't cancer, I ignored my body, and my breasts were bright red and had yellow
Yeah.
pus coming out of them. And I thought that I just had some kind of viral infection. My temperature was 104.
Wow.
And my now 10-year-old daughter tells me that back then she kept trying to wake me up and I wouldn't wake up.
Wow. I never knew that, Trish.
And when I think back on it now and I listen to her talk about it, and she talks about it very vividly and still cries. I had pushed through so much that, I figured that I had just worn myself down and gotten myself sick. I believe it was from Friday until Monday, my temperature was 104. My youngest daughter, back then, this was 2017, could not wake me up. And my oldest daughter, thinking I had overdone it, kept saying, "Mommy just needs a rest, let her sleep." But I wasn't waking up.
Wow.
And the next day, which was a Monday, I went to pick up my medication from the pharmacy. And my pharmacist, who knows me well, because I've been sick for a while, she said, "You look like shit. And I really think you need to go to the ER. I gave you antibiotics a week ago and you look like hell." And I ended up going to the ER, and they said that had I gotten there 30 minutes later, I would have been in a septic coma.
Wow.
And the only person that saw it coming was my then
your daughter.
7-year-old daughter. And so when you say, yeah, go get it checked out, to my women, I know that you work really hard. You're taking care of kids. Most of us have jobs and other things that we're doing, responsibilities, groups you belong to. And especially to my Black women. Don't keep pushing through. Don't keep pretending the pain's not there, or you're just too tired, or maybe you didn't eat, or maybe it's stress. Go get that shit checked out. In Zakeisha's case, it was breast cancer. For me, my organs were shutting down. I was going into a septic coma. I was on the verge of leaving my children. So, in wrapping up, get your mammograms. Get your primary care doctor that you trust. So when something doesn't feel right with your body, you know your body. Go get it checked out.
Absolutely.
Because you deserve to be well. You deserve to feel well. Is there anything that you'd like to add, Zakeisha?
No, I think we covered it all.
Awesome. And I appreciate you so much for being on this call with me. I know that sharing your story wasn't easy, but we've been through so much together, and it's such a blessing to share this with you.
Yeah.
For those of you listening, this is my good friend Zakeisha. She's a breast cancer survivor. And again, I'm Trishina Barzar Hunter, and this is Moving Mountains podcast. As always, you can reach me on social media, both on Facebook and Instagram. The handles for both of those platforms is at Moving Mountains Coach. My website is www.movingthemountains.net. If you would like to schedule a one-on-one discovery call with me, I would be honored to have you. You can certainly book that on my website or reach out to me on any social media platform. I am happy to spend some time with you, answering questions and seeing how I can help you move mountains in your life. Having Zakeisha on this call today, my very good friend and my sister, who I've been through a tremendous amount of trials with and survived a lot with, has been absolutely an honor, a gift, and a blessing. And I'm so grateful for her being willing to share her journey with me and with all of you. Remember, every mountain can be moved as long as you are willing to take the first step. Thank you again for your time and for listening in.